Neighbors are supposed to be people that we trust. They live quite near to you, and are usually the people who you form close bonds with, at barbecues, block parties, or maybe just a glass of lemonade on the porch, while your teenage son mows the neighbor's lawn for free. Thanks for that, Dad. But sometimes, neighbors aren't what they seem, and can be quite creepy, or even have sinister intentions. Number 1. This happened about 3 weeks ago, and to this day I'm still creeped out, and hope that this man never returns. I'm a 22-year-old female, and I just finished my 3rd year at my local university. Tired of living in a dorm, I wanted my own apartment, and I was lucky enough to find an apartment close to the school. At first pulling up to the place, it looked like a dump, but with a deal of only $300 a month, plus utilities, it was worth the hassle. Walking to the front desk, I looked around and the place was worn down. It almost looked like one of those Model 8s that are cheap, and the wallpaper was falling as well. I've already bought the place, paying 3 months worth of rent, and the landlord was showing me to my room. I was on the 3rd floor, so with the elevator out, I had to carry boxes up the stairs, which only made me dread the place even more. The landlord was creepy himself. Let me describe him. He weighed about 300 pounds and was sweaty, around mid-50s to be exact. His teeth were yellow and his voice was hoarse. He complimented me, saying, "It's been a long time since we had pretty college girls living here." I was disgusted and creeped out. This was not something that I wanted to hear. Once we arrived at the room, I unlocked the door, letting myself go in first. When I walked in, the first thing I noticed was the room was actually decent, but it still looked run down. I couldn't exactly get my deposit back, so it looked like I was stuck there. Setting my boxes down, I couldn't help but notice the landlord walking toward me and placed his disgusting hand on my shoulder, saying, "You'll fit in here. If you need anything, just let me know." Cringing at the thought of his hand on me, I forced a smile, pulling back away from him. "Thanks. Now, if you don't mind, I would like to start unpacking my stuff," I said, watching as the man left, shutting my door behind him. What was I getting myself into? This guy was a total creeper. Shaking off the encounter, I started to unpack and go back to my car and loading up the boxes to take upstairs. Once I unpacked, it was already late, and I wanted to get some laundry done. Walking toward the washing machine that was in the laundry room down the hall, I noticed another guy who was sitting down washing his clothes. Offering him a smile to be polite, I started to load my clothes into the washer. But I could just feel his eyes leering on my body and checking me out. The man looked homeless, but he was young, probably mid-30s. Leaving to go back to my room to take a shower, my clothes were washing. It was about 20 minutes when I heard noises outside my door. Turning off the water, I listened as someone was breathing heavily, and slowly I walked towards the front door. Moving toward the keyhole, I went to look and saw the creepy guy from before who was washing his clothes peeking through the hole at me. Backing up, I cursed at him. "What are you doing? Get away from my door, you pervert!" I screamed, hitting the door again, and watching through the hole as the dude ran back to his room and slammed the door. After getting dressed into my clothes, I left the room, shutting the door again, and going downstairs to the front desk, where the landlord Ralph was. I complained about a man peeking through my door, but the landlord shrugged it off. "Don't worry, darling. No one will do anything to you. Some people are curious of new people who comes in. We only have a few tenants, and they've been all here for years." Angry was not the way I would describe how I felt. The landlord was doing pretty much nothing. Walking back towards my room and slamming the door behind me, I cursed, forgetting all about my laundry, and left once again to go to the washroom. Getting my clothes out to dry, I tensed, noticing the same dude looking at me from the doorway of the washroom. He coughed. "Hello. I'm sorry if I frightened you. I was just curious about the new neighbor." You're pretty. What's your name?" "I'm Nick." Scoffing. Did this idiot think I'd give him my name? "How about you stay away from my door and leave me alone?" I said, before walking back to my room and shutting the door. After another hour, I had folded my clothes and turned down for the night. It was around 3 a.m. when I heard footsteps again towards my door. I sat up in bed listening to heavy breathing. Ignoring it, I went back to sleep. But it was so hard to sleep not knowing what was on the other side of that door. For 4 nights, I heard footsteps and heavy breathing, and I knew it was Nick peeking through the keyhole. One night though, everything changed. I was reading a book when I heard noises once again at my door. Getting up, I went to the door, keeping my pepper spray with me that I had just bought. Opening the door, there was Nick standing there with my mail and a dirty smile on his face. "Here you go, love. Thought I'd drop these off. Mind if I come in, beautiful?" Taking my mail was from his grimy hand. "No, I don't want you in here. Now leave me alone." Just as I shut the door, his foot stopped the door from closing as he leaned in very close to me. "You know, darling, it's rude not to be nice to your neighbors. I only wanted to give you your mail and check in on you." Pushing him back, I slammed the door hard in his face, quickly locking it and yelling at him to leave me alone. Keeping my ear to the door, I heard his footsteps start to leave, and just to be safe, I looked through the keyhole, which was my biggest mistake. The jerk was doing some unsavory things in front of my door. He must have seen me through the keyhole because he just smirked and licked his lips. Disgusted, I walked away, wanting out of this apartment, but I had nowhere to go, and I was very far from home. Looking at my school's website, I found a dorm spot available and immediately called getting it. I would leave in 2 weeks at this point, and I didn't care about my deposit. We have a fire escape outside that leads to each floor in case of emergency, but what happened next made me never want to be alone in the apartment. One day, I went out for lunch with a friend from school. Coming back, I noticed the front door had been picked unlocked. Immediately, taking my pepper spray, I walked inside, seeing that all my clothes were all over the floor, and a lot of my underwear were missing. I knew who it was. It was that sicko Nick. Picking up my clothes and stuffing them back to my dresser, this really scared me. But what scared me most was a photo that I found laying on my bed. It was a picture of myself in my robe. Written on the photo was the word beautiful. That sicko must have taken a photo of me while outside on the fire escape. I had had enough and packed my bags, wanting to get out of the apartment after the 2 weeks of his harassment. Just as I packed my clothes and opened my door to leave, I will have my best friend's brother come with me to get the rest of my stuff. There Nick stood outside of his door with a pleasing grin. "Why are you leaving, beautiful? You know I did enjoy your company." I only shook my head. "You're a creep," I said, walking away with my suitcase. But just like I down the hall, I heard footsteps. He was following me. I felt his grasp on my arm, stopping me mid-walk, pulling my back to his chest. "You really should stay." I elbowed him harder in the stomach, pulling my arm away, and took off to my car. Getting into the car, I wasted no time leaving. Never will I forget this experience, or even trust apartments near my city. Who knows what the guy would have done if he caught me one night, or decided to break in when I was sleeping. He could have been a psycho, or even a killer. Lucky no rent was worth all that trouble. I may have lost my money, but at least I was safe. Number 2. I'd just like to say that this story is kind of a borderline sexual assault story, but I figured it was better suited here because it was only an attempt made, and since it was an ongoing encounter with an eccentric neighbor who seeked me out multiple times, so I thought it was suited to a forum for encounters with stalkers. If I'm wrong on this, please inform me, and I will remove it myself. It's not my intent to intentionally violate the forum's rules. When I was a little girl, I used to have a friend that me and my little sister played with all the time. We would be at her house almost every day, and would generally walk ourselves there and back. She lived in a back alley type road behind and parallel to the street I lived on, and since I spent so much time with her, I would often take this road to get home from school. I was friendly with most of the people who lived on the road. One man in particular was always pretty sweet to us. We called him Jamaican Dave, due to his thick accent to differentiate him in stories with other Daves we knew. He would stop me and my sister by the street, by his house, to talk to us about simple things until we had to go. And he would always give us huge hugs at the end of our conversations. We really liked hanging out with him. One day, after our friend broke her leg, I went to her house to bring her some food, and a get well card that I thought she might like. Her mother told me that she wasn't feeling well enough to talk to me personally, so I walked back home. This was the first time I encountered him by myself. He was as friendly as ever to me, but the things he said struck me as odd. He called me baby girl, which was not unusual for him, But this time around, when he said it, he would smirk or lick his lips at me. He demanded at least 7 hugs during this particular conversation, and at one point fondled a heart earring I had and asking, "Is this heart for me, baby girl?" I told him I had homework to do and left, but being as young as I was, I thought it was just Jamaican Dave being goofy again. On the second and last occasion I encountered him on the road while I was alone, I had come back from this friend's house. We'd used those iron-on bead stencil things to make a Father's Day presents. I'd made my dad a little heart, and proudly showed it off to Jamaican Dave after he called me over to his yard to check out on my friend and to ask me what I was doing. I let him examine it upon his request, and I guess he misinterpreted it to be a gift because he kept holding on to it and asked, "Is this for me, baby girl?" I didn't really respond to that because I had already told him that it was for my father, and also I didn't know how to give a proper response to it on account of bad problems with anxiety and not wanting to offend him. Then he smiled and held it against his chest saying, "Baby girl, that's so sweet of you." I just kinda nodded at that point, feeling a bit bummed and kind of weirded out because he got closer to me and touched both of my earrings. They were the same pair he'd fondled a few days ago. He tugged on the left one and said, "This is my heart." Then he tugged on the right and said, "And this heart is for you, baby girl." I just kinda froze on the spot. It suddenly didn't seem right to me that it was just a friendly neighbor being silly, but that something bad might be happening. He asked me to hug him. I stood still and he hugged me instead. Then he said this, "Baby girl, listen to what I'm telling you. I like you, and if anyone asks, I'll deny it. If you tell a friend I said that, and they come to me, I will say I did not say that. But it's true, baby girl. I want you to come over to my house on Tuesday this week, and make sure nobody sees you come in." I told him I didn't want to, and I had to go home, and I hurried away from the scene. I was too afraid to tell anybody, and I figured it would be the end of it if I stopped taking the back way. But one day, playing in my yard with my sister, he passed us holding a little girl's hand. I presume it was his daughter due to the resemblance. He looked at me for a good while, waved, and then touched his ear. I ran inside so fast I was panting, and eventually told my parents about the encounter. They said to never take that way again, and if he came by to tell them. We moved away years later, and I don't know what became of my friendly neighbor. Jamaican Dave, let's not meet again. Number 3. I was 5 years old when I met my first best friend in kindergarten. Ashley lived in my neighborhood and was just as shy as me, so we became fast friends when we were seated together for the first day of school. She came from a working class family same as mine, and our parents became close as well. I started sleeping over her house pretty much every weekend. We were inseparable. When we were in public together, everyone thought we were twins. We told each other absolutely everything. One night, she told me that she had a secret to tell me. I was surprised because I thought I knew everything about her. She started to tell me about her teenage neighbor who lived with his grandma. He would come over and play with her in this big playhouse that her dad had built her in the backyard. Her dad worked construction, so it was like a real little house, carpet and everything. I asked her if her parents knew, and she said no, and that he was her secret friend. She told me that he told her she couldn't tell anyone about him because he'd get in trouble. She complied because she had a little bit of a crush and looked up on him. She continued to tell me that he would come over in the middle of the night. Her room was on the ground floor, and if you opened her window, you could walk right into her room. She said he would knock on the window and then let himself in, and they would lay in bed and talk till early morning hours, and would always leave before her dad had to wake up in the morning. I, being very young, thought it was really cool she had an older friend, especially a cute older boy. I was sleeping over one night, a week before her birthday, so we were talking about the party she was going to have. She mentioned that he was going to be there. I said that maybe it wasn't such a good idea, since I was shy and scared to meet him, and he was supposed to be a secret. She said that her mom had made friends with his grandma, and had invited them to the party. It was going to be a cookout since it was in the summer, and a lot of families were going to be there. Then she said that she wasn't supposed to tell me, but he told her that he had a plan for one of the games we would play. He said whoever lost musical chairs first, he was going to cut their eyeballs out with a knife that he always carried with him. I was instantly horrified. What if I lost first? She saw that I got scared, so she changed the subject and I soon forgot about it. Her mom came in and tucked us in for the night. We laid in bed and kept talking until around 12:30. Everyone was already asleep. The lights were off, so you could see outside pretty well with the streetlights on. That's when I heard the knock on the window. I saw him looking right at me and smiling. I jumped up screaming and ran into her parents' room. They asked me what was wrong, but I couldn't tell them what happened. I was too scared. They called my parents and my dad came and picked me up. Since I was a pretty shy kid, my dad didn't ask too many questions and just assumed that something stupid spooked me. I never told anyone and I never went over to her house again. So, creepy secret teenage neighbor? Let's not meet. Number 4. There's a neighbor who lives one street down from me. She's a lady somewhere around my age, I think. Anyway, several times now, I've seen her idling in her car just in front of my house. She doesn't know me personally, doesn't have a crush on me, it's nothing like that. She just drives over to my street, chalks the car along the curb right alongside my house, leaves the engine running, and sits there for up to 45 minutes each time. At least twice now, I've approached her car. Not up close, but where she could see that the neighbor was home. And I gave her a WTF stare. It didn't deter her one bit. She just sat there until she felt like leaving more than half an hour later. During one of these times, I remained still on my stoop at the door, and she just sat there this time as well. On another occasion, I did some experimenting with the Wi-Fi signal to see if she was just robbing me from internet access. Nope, Wi-Fi went down, but she stayed. The whole time she just sat there, not chatting on her mobile, not smoking, not doing anything at all other than to move her arms above her head on occasion. I couldn't see this very clearly though, as her windows are black. I was able to work out who she was in the neighborhood by some odd markings on her car. Anyway, about 2 weeks ago, I was driving home from an errand. I got about 2 blocks distance from the house, and I noticed that there was a car making all the same turns as mine, on a couple of roads that are not that central or heavily used in the town. At first, I didn't realize it was her. It didn't even dawn on me. So this car was going my way on a dark night. Right after turning onto my street, the car pulled over briefly with its lights flashing. I overtook it carefully and continued on my way. A minute later, I noticed this car was now following behind me again. Still, I didn't realize or even suspect that it was her. However, I felt that there was something odd going on with the driver, so a bit further down the road, I pulled over my car to let the other driver to overtake me. I just wanted to keep my exact house hidden from what I thought was this other car. Just for privacy reasons, you know, just in case the stopping and overtaking thing could somehow cause a road rage thing. You never know. Well, after that, the car was now behind me again. It turned back down the street behind my street, only very slowly, and with the silhouette of the driver appearing to glance at me as she crept down the other street, braking the whole time. At that point, it hit me that this was that lady you keep seeing in front of my house. I've had no idea if she realized that it was me. Remember, dark road at night. I waited for the car to disappear down the hill, cut my lamps, roll into the garage quietly. Nothing has happened since. The whole thing has been rather strange. I should add that my neighborhood is not insecure, and drug activity is not a big problem here. I don't think that she's any sort of criminal, just a weird neighbor, and I can't imagine why she's behaving this way. It's just odd and increasingly creepy. Hey guys, Basement Horrors here, and I hope you enjoyed the video, even though the time, whatever, all the videos to show how long the videos were was probably way off. I don't care, I'm lazy and it's really late, I'm really tired. Just want to give a few updates though before I go to sleep. One is, I'm sorry if through the last past few videos have been kind of lacking in quality, not quantity, because there has been 2 videos a week like I've said, and a few weeks ago there was even 3 videos a week because of a collaboration. But in quality, the quality I think is really crappy right now, and I'm sorry for that. I haven't been spending enough time actually recording, and that's just because I haven't had that much time to record. And that's just my fault, because I don't take the opportunity to record when I, have it. So then I have to end up recording when, I have like, about 5 minutes to record a day or something like that. No, I have about an hour to record every day. But when I'm recording 5 stories a day usually, so I have enough for the whole entire, next few days, you know what I mean? Because I usually end up finishing one video a day before I have to upload it. So right now I'm recording this on Thursday night. It's actually 12:14 a.m. So yeah, usually I haven't done like Thursday in the middle of the day, but I was out of town today, just got back at 10 o'clock, around 10 o'clock. So yeah, another big update I want to give is that there's a huge video coming up. And no, it's not the Halloween collaboration. It's nothing like that. It's not a collaboration. It's not any long video stories. It's nothing like that. It's actually one of the first videos where I'm going to tell you guys about my personal life. Now, if you watched all my videos, even the ones that I've deleted, like the ones that I've had since I started this channel, 8 months, 9 months ago, whatever. If you've been watching since then or are subscribed to my second channel, then you guys know a little bit about my life. But I've never really gone into too much detail. And on my second channel, I basically only shared stories that have happened in my earlier childhood. Maybe only 1 or 2 from closer to now. Definitely not about this. This is like a huge deal to me. I'm not going to say anything now. It's going to be a crazy video. It's just basically telling about like what's been going on for me personally. Nothing's really going on anymore. It was more like a few months ago before, actually it was before I started the channel, even about December, before like the year before I started the channel. So it was quite a while ago, but it still is affecting me now because of other reasons that you'll find out in the video. But anyway, yeah, so look out for that video, and until the next video, have a horrific day. Thanks guys, love you.